Good morning, guys. Welcome to episode, 4 or 5 of Mud Girl Pottery instructional videos. You guys might have seen that last video where my bowl flopped. I was told that it's possible that it flopped because I looked at the camera. That was a critique from one of my students. We're gonna see what actually happens. I'm gonna go with a little bit of a bigger ball of clay. I'm also gonna do this with a bit of an injury. PSA, pro tip. When there's glaze on your glaze shelf and you're sitting there trying to get the glaze off, wear gloves because you lose a tip of your finger. So we're gonna see how this goes. All right, guys, so I'm starting with, I feel like it's about 2.5 pounds of clay, maybe 3. So the most important part about making a bowl is that you don't yell bowl immediately. You might have seen that in other videos of mine, and those of you who've never made pottery before may not understand what I mean. When we yell bowl, when we automatically start making that pot and we say, wow, we're making a bowl, so therefore we need to put a lot of pressure on our inside hand, we often have our pot foiled by centripetal force. So centripetal force, as many of you guys have heard me describe it as, is just like that ride in the Gravitron, where you lean up against the back of the wall and it spins you so fast that you get pushed up against the back of the wall. And if you throw up, the vomit will hit you in the face. I've got something funky going on in my clay. I'm just gonna. So centripetal force makes things want to go outwards. So recycled clay will get you some hard pieces in there. So the speed at which your wheel is going is going to make you want to make the clay go out, just like the Gravitron. So we don't want to tell the clay that the end result is going to be a bowl until we get our walls thinner. When our walls get to be the desired thickness, then we can yell bowl, as you guys have heard me say. But first, we still want to think about getting those walls to be the desired thickness. The other key to making a bowl is to keep your lip thicker than the rest of your pot. If when you're making it, your bowl opening is this wide, when we eventually yell bowl, which is going to make it go out this wide, that lip is going to thin out. So if we start with 1/4 of an inch and then we thin it out, now it's going to be 1/8 of an inch. If we start with 1/2 an inch and we pull it out, it's going to be 1/4 of an inch, which is the desired thickness of your pot. Now, the mound of clay dictates how wide your pot is. So for beginners, I am okay with you starting super wide because you almost want that support. As you get better, you're able to really learn how to get it to go up so that you don't need that support. But we all know about the trimming stage video to come. So that trimming will actually help you clean out that extra clay. And as a beginner, it's okay. So how we're gonna open up, I put 2 thumbs down, and what I do is I actually use the sides of my thumb to kind of compress the lip so that we don't get this sort of foldy thing. And now what I want to do is I want to open up, and I want a good foot on this. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to stop my wheel, and although I always tell people don't ever touch your clay unless the wheel's moving, this is the only time you do it. You're going to put your pin tool down, put your finger down there. That's a little thin, so that's a bowl that will not have a foot on it. If I want a real good foot, I would make it about that thick, about 3/4 of an inch. But once you get it thin, you can't make it thinner, so this bowl is not going to have a foot. So what I'm now gonna do is I'm gonna pull straight towards me, and I'm gonna scoop up. I'm gonna go ahead and compress that lip too. So a lot of you guys know I don't like to wedge clay. So I am often fighting with air bubbles. Wedging is way too much work for me. So now I'm going to compress the floor. And the inside of my pot looks like what the inside of my bowl is going to look like for the rest of the bowl's life. Okay, so now I want to slow my wheel down, and I'm going to start to pull my walls. Now I start with my hand in the center because I want to always compress my floor as I start to pull up. If you notice, my first pull doesn't yet look like a bowl. It looks like a bowl inside of a cylinder, because I want to scoop this clay up down on the bottom here. And then when I start to pull it up, that's when my inside hand is going to start to go up along with it. And I'm going to compress my lip. Remember, we want to maintain the thicker lip. So with that first pull, we kind of just went pull. Now with our second one, you see we're starting to insinuate that it's going to go out just a little bit. And the inside still looks like a bowl with a little bit of an air bubble. I hope this doesn't flop due to my laziness. Compress my floor a little and see what I can do here. So air bubbles, the biggest misconception is that air bubbles cause your pot to explode, and that's actually not true. It's the moisture that's trapped inside that air bubble that will actually cause it to explode. So you can have a solid ball of clay, as long as it dries for a few months or a few weeks in dry weather, it will not explode because it's the moisture. Now I'm taking that thicker clay up from the bottom, and the center of my pot is starting to be the desired thickness, but my lip is still thicker than my walls. If you had a hand and you can reach on in and you would wet your hands, because we always wet our hands when we touch our pot, we would see that here it's about an 1/8 of an inch, and then here it gets to be about 1/2 an inch. Constantly compressing my floor. But keep in mind that when you are compressing your floor, you're wiping away clay, so you're actually exposing grog. A lot of people are surprised that when their pot comes out of the kiln, that it's groggier in the bottom than when they first started. They thought they were smoothing it out, but what actually happens is the grog, which is the little rocks and skeleton of the clay that makes it stronger, doesn't shrink at the same rate as the clay. So here's your clay, it looks like it's smooth, and now your clay shrinks, but the grog doesn't shrink as much. So it ends up really being way bumpier than when you thought you were smoothing it out. All right, so we've got most of the clay up from the bottom. Our walls are consistently thick, but it doesn't yet look like a bowl. So at this point, we're gonna stretch it and we're gonna yell bowl. So what we're gonna do is you're either gonna use your fingers. In this demo, I'm actually gonna use a rubber rib. This is a hard one. There are softer ones. I find the harder one to be better. You're gonna have the beveled edge towards you, and I'm actually gonna start up at the top. And the first thing I'm gonna do, my outside hand is not doing anything other than supporting what my inside hand is pushing towards it. So it almost serves as a wall or a guard. So I'm gonna start to stretch this out to my desired stretchness, because that's a word. And I'm gonna just start to go down. As you can see, I got it a little rounder than I did before. Just get rid of this little ha-ha right here. And now I'll start down on the bottom. I'm using this to get that smooth transition. So I'm actually gonna push with a decent amount of pressure here. I'm gonna start to go up. I get my head all the way down in here. I know I'm off camera, but I wanna see the profile of my bowl so I can, you only get a few chances to do this. All the way up. Two hands, I'm just gonna compress the floor a little bit. I just wanna get that transition to be smooth. We want no bumps. It's actually called the beginner bump. What happens is you're putting a lot of pressure down on here, and now the clay gets thinner, so you're putting the same pressure, and it ends up doing this a little. That's what we call the beginner bump. And you can hide that. You can carve it, you can decorate it, you can glaze it to get the eye out of the way. What I'm aiming for here is sort of this sort of fruit bowl. And now I wanna finish it off. I always want my bowl to have like a good lip. I want it to be framed from here to the foot. So I'm actually going to have one finger over the other. This finger is just gonna be underneath, and I'm just gonna gently glide that lip over my other lip. Just like that. I don't like over exaggerating that sort of floppy, I don't know, 1980s looking lip. That's just me though, I guess. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the water out of the inside. I'm gonna call this a pot or a bowl. I'm gonna wet my wood tool now. With my cylinder, I went straight down. With my bowl, I wanna go to a little bit of an angle. Just wanna get enough off so that my pot so that my pot dries evenly, consistently. I keep losing my pin tool. There we go. you guys can see what's going on down here. It's pretty much how representational of my life. It's a pretty shit show. So I'm gonna put this flat underneath this loop of clay. Now again, I may not do these steps this way. I try and show you the easier way to not screw up your pot. A little bit of water dripping in here. Remember, if you leave the water inside, it will actually start to eat away at the clay. And you get what's called an S-crack. Notice I'm fixing my lip, but I'm not doing it while the wheel's not moving. Nothing good can come out of your doing that while your wheel's not moving. Like, next, to wire or not to wire. I saw a video a long time ago of a potter, couldn't possibly tell you what his name is, and he said that he does not wire on the wheel, and that he tends to have a little bit of a less of a chance of S-cracks in his pot when he wires after it sets up a little. I never, ever, ever have S-cracks in my pot. So I don't know if it's because I cone up. I don't know if it's because I compress my floor a lot. I'm not sure why, but I'd like to attribute all of these things with not having S-cracks. So I'm actually just going to leave it right there. And I'm going to show you that. So this is what a beginner would have. A beginner would have a super wide foot that supports the wall. As you get a little more advanced, you can use some of that clay to get it up in there. But I just want to show you how a beginner can be more successful with a bowl. This part will come off trimming, which we'll do for the next video. But I just wanted, you just have a much better chance of supporting those walls if you've got some bricks underneath it. Like I said, not a beginner would probably have a little less clay there. So that's my bowl. It did not flop. Yay! Tried not to look at the camera, Sahara, so thanks for that tip. And stay tuned. I will show you guys how I trim this bowl, which is the secret step that a lot of people who've never ever taken classes don't know about. An old student of ours, Drew, used to go, trimming is magic. So wait for the magic. Please, if you love my videos, subscribe, share with your friends. We're trying to hit that 1,000 view, and I'm going to promise to try and get you at least a video a week. Have a great day, guys.